Hello, everyone.
Hi.
It is my great pleasure to introduce the panelists of the healthcare topic. And these are people with tremendous influence already in terms of the innovative technology, as well as the commercialization of them in the healthcare industry. And I will spend a few minutes to introduce all of them. First up, Mr. Ma Rui. He's a PhD partner at Freeze Fund, where he focuses on investment in biotech and new materials. Dr. Ray leads the investment at the cross-section of biology, computation, and materials, including synthetic biology, AI-driven drug discovery, protein design, neuroscience, and RNA-based novel therapeutics. He led the investment in BluePha and Galaxy, Xtapay, Metis-Pharm, ComMedX, etc. Prior to joining Freeze Fund, Ray worked in Ministry of Ecology and Environment in China. Ray has over a decade of research experiences in nanomaterials and chemistry himself, has a civil and environmental engineering PhD from CMU. He's also a bachelor and master from Tsinghua in environmental engineering. He was the president of Carnegie Mellon CSSA and the founder of CMU Summit. Next up is Dr. Frank Fan Xiaohu. Dr. Fan is the founder of Legend Biotech and currently serves the company as the chief scientific officer. Dr. Fan received his medical degree at Xi'an Jiaotong University and worked as a surgical resident in the kidney transplantation center of the university before he pursued his PhD in applied immunology at Hiroshima University, Japan. Dr. Fan completed his postdoc training at the Hospital for Sick Children, University of Toronto, Canada, where he became recognized as an expert in the field of mechanism of B-cell tolerance. Dr. Fan has been publishing numerous peer-reviewed academic journal articles, including original article in Nature Medicine, which contributed to a revision of the clinical guideline of pediatric organ transplantation. Dr. Fan elucidated the mechanism of B-cell tolerance with indicating small children, and these are his medical achievements. And therefore, Dr. Fan was awarded New Key Opinion Leader by the Transplantation Society in 2006. Dr. Fan, with the support of GeneScript, co-founded Legend Biotech in 2015. The company grew into a global leader in cancer immunology in just 5 years. And his leading product, potential best-in-class BCMA targeting CAR T product is poised to become the first CAR T innovative product generated by Chinese company and both approved in US, Europe, and China. Dr. Fan invented his invention, and his achievement allowed him to enter a global partnership with Janssen to co-develop the global markets for the CAR T therapy. The product received breakthrough designation. And Legend Biotech is also a NASDAQ-listed company and one of the largest cell gene therapy company in the world. Dr. Fan is now leading the largest cell therapy R&D team in the world to develop more innovative technology to treat solid tumors. Next panelist, Xu Chenyang, President of Perception Vision Medical Technologies. He is based in Silicon Valley as a global leader and speaker on technology and innovation, especially on artificial intelligence, healthcare technology, entrepreneurship, and investment. He's a pioneer in R&D field of computer vision and medical imaging, co-founder of Perception Vision Medical Technologies, and currently serves as the president of the company. Mr. Xu is a co-founder of Silicon Valley Future Academy between 2009 and 2017. He was the general manager and chief technology officer of Siemens for business, responsible for global early stage startup partnership and investment. He previously headed various global technology leadership roles, such as investment imaging at Siemens, in advancing AI and its commercialization in healthcare. At Siemens, he also led partnership investment with over 60 global technology startups, collaboration with top Silicon Valley VC firms, as well as the development of multiple new AI healthcare commercial products, achieving cumulatively multi-billion-dollar new revenue. He published over 80 scientific publications with 20,000 citations, holds 40 US and international patents. Dr. Xu is an elected IEEE fellow for his significant contribution to the AI and healthcare fields with seminal research and commercial impacts. He also has an MS and PhD in electrical and computer engineering from Johns Hopkins. Last but not the least, Alan Jiang, Chief Strategy Officer, XtaPi Inc. Dr. Jiang is a Chief Strategy Officer, Board of Director for XtaPi, bears primary responsibility for the company's strategic development, including identification of global growth opportunities and execution. XtaPi is a company integrating quantum physics theory, AI, and cloud computing, poised to be the next generation industry model for biopharmaceutical and material R&D. He joined XtaPi, bringing over 20 years of scientific and research management experience, most of it gained in positions of increasing responsibility at Genzyme, then Sanofi. Prior to joining XtaPi, Dr. Jiang was the director of Asia R&D strategy of the Sanofi Genzyme R&D Center. And in that capacity, he was responsible for the development of Genzyme Asia China R&D strategy and led cross-functional R&D external collaborations in Asia. Dr. Jiang received his medical degree and doctorate in molecular biology, followed by postdoc research in hematology and oncology at Brigham and Women's Hospital, Harvard Medical School. As you can see, this panel of experts, both in terms of their own personal achievement, but also what the company have done, are not only pioneering in the world for the healthcare industry, but also will continue to define the future of healthcare. So welcome everyone. So the panel are going to answer a number of questions, which I'm going to raise. And the first question, obviously, to have each one of you to give a brief introduction of your company, things which I have not covered. So starting with Frank, please.
Thanks, Claudia. You have done a good job introducing me and my company. Thank you.
Okay, Alan, please.
Yeah, very much. It's very concisely articulate the core technical component of the company. That basically is integrate machine learning, artificial intelligence, but also very much quantum physics-based theory into the whole process. And all of those depends on the supercomputing, the cloud-based supercomputing environment, and then really address the industry question. It's not only biopharmaceutical, but generally material science R&D. Yes,
thank you. Chen Yang.
Yep. So you did an excellent job, more so than me introducing myself and experience. The current company, PVmed, although was briefly mentioned, so just a few more words. So PVmed is a Guangzhou-based AR, artificial intelligence cancer treatment technology company. We apply the latest machine learning technology to medical imaging like CT and MR or other PET and other patient record medical information to make cancer treatment planning and delivery safer and better and faster. In the last 12 months, we have served over 50 hospitals in China with around 10,000 cancer patients treatment. Our next big milestone is to reach 500 hospitals in China and 1 million cancer patients served. Last year, 3 million people died in cancer in China, and 2040 will be 5 million. So it's a big city disappearing every year. So big problem for us to tackle with our partners.
Very impressive. Thank you, everyone. The second question is directed first at Alan. What are the specific areas where AI can potentially help the pharmaceutical industry? Alan, please.
Yeah, personally, I think this is a really big question. Everybody know the drug R&D process is long. It's involved in multi-disciplines, and so. But on the other side, when we're talking about extract the AI machine learning application, you will find related to that, like the data is imbalanced. It's not every single nodes from the value chain is AI maybe is the best solution, probably not. And so that's why the company, from our own experience, we're working with some area we think from the computational perspective, the algorithms come from a cluster of first principle based physics and chemistry, but the other is a machine learning artificial intelligence to really make the whole process more efficient. And so the very first one, actually, we identified as an area in the drug development. It's a part of the CMC development. It's a crystal structure prediction. It's a small molecule prediction. But the other side really heavily is in drug design and drug discovery. That from very top chemical library build up to down to the virtual screening and the molecular modeling. So all of those areas and multi-parameter nature, optimization nature of the compound. So those areas is heavily applied to machine learning artificial intelligence. That's from our own exercise. Does not mean many other nodes cannot apply, but we simply find the entry a point which in general makes sense or can be validated.
Thank you. Thank you. So I would ask a similar question to Chen Yang, please. What are the specific areas you think AI can help medical imaging diagnostics and maybe even therapy?
Yeah, so I think I will zoom out just a little bit because I have last over a decade or more, I'm looking to not just diagnostic and treatment, but overall AI application for healthcare, especially when we do the technology. When I was heading technology venture at Siemens and sitting on a number of boards, basically AI is really truly now transforming the entire healthcare. This cannot be said in the past because this new wave of AI is a lot more powerful, as we know. And the CEO of Siemens Healthineers, Bernd Montag, and he actually said last year, medicine without AI is like airplane without an autopilot, right? So this has become significantly more important. It's impacting from, like medical, genomic interpretation, medical information assistant, to mental health, paramedic, but also for screening, as well as diagnosis, of all kinds of disease, and helping doctors for treatment, I mentioned. And also, I think patient safety, helping nurses, and as well as helping hospital to be more efficient. So it's really on the entire value chain of the healthcare. I think the two areas particularly important is making healthcare better because AI can be more precise and more automatic. The other one is make hospital more efficient. There was a study came out last year, was pretty astounding. U.S. healthcare is the biggest expenditure of the world. 19% of GDP is spent on healthcare. 1/4 of the entire healthcare spending is waste, inefficiency, silos. Healthcare is the most, on one side we're the most advanced, in the world, but on the other side it's the most, delayed. It's compared to other industries, very old-fashioned because safety, etc. We still use fax machine to send information around, right? So And therefore, there's a lot of waste around. And I think the AI now has, additional automation, but also help making certain decisions, not patient, decision, but certain process decisions that can really help reduce waste. So.
Thank you. So tremendous potential revolutionary impact. Maybe the two of you can talk about some of the challenges in being able to commercialize AI technology in healthcare. Whoever.
Yeah. So personally, I believe one. Yang just mentioned a little bit. The healthcare, or in general biopharmaceutical, or general healthcare, have another nature, which is highly regulated, and there's a lot of compliance, and also biology-based in general is an evidence-based biology experiment, and so they need to be seen, see the effect experimentally, basically. And the verse, in many cases, the AI, people still consider it's a kind of a black box. And so this is just a mentality issue. But in our case, of course, we incorporate the first principle-based algorithms and also experimental. So that's another thing. And also related to the data itself is a existing system. In many cases, either it's silos, or it's not ready to be integrated because historical data sometimes is not necessarily asset, maybe a burden actually. So that's one of the reasons. Before really you're doing a machine learning, artificial intelligence type of analytics, the digital transformation is more like a prerequisite. Why? Simply because Yang just mentioned, they still need the facts. Machine is still in use, right? And so overall, I believe one is related to the data itself, it's the readiness, and there's a lot of detail. In particular, actually, the FAIR principle is derived from life science. It's ironically, but the second one is I just mentioned, I just summarized, is a mentality. And of course, adaptation of the AI, you need a talent and a capability. So those, in general, I can summarize as three major challenges to adopting the AI expertise in the industry.
Thank you. Anything to add, Yang?
Yeah, I think if you look at this whole gold rush in invest AI, and healthcare in particular started in 2015. I would say, aside from the new drug development, AI medical imaging has received tons of money. We're not looking at the tens of billions of, dollar and RMB invested in, depends whether you think about US or China. And in fact, many of the hot companies in China, some of them actually already burned their billions of, RMB and then died actually. So it's tons of roadblocks, but I would just highlight two. Because Ellen mentioned really well on the regulatory risk, the data, but I think that on the regulatory side, one of the biggest challenge is clinical validation, right? How do you show evidence at scale that your AI screening or diagnosis or treatment are effective, are really helping doctors? And rather than just being, having publications and winning contests, which is highly contrived, it's not a real word. And so I think all just doing media circus and become innovation theater rather than really helping patients. So we have a lot of problems with the money-driven hype last 6 years. So I think really sit down and defining effective criteria, database, and working with opinion leaders, doctors, and regulatory bodies to really come up with effective validation criteria and database and methodology. And that would be really key. So we can sift through hypes, and reverse the jams that can truly help advance the healthcare. The second part is a big challenge is business models. I think, Ray, certainly in this area, this is perhaps the VC have talked that most, and the founders as well, Ellen as well, and Frank, how do you in the end get paid, right? How is company going to scale? And so this is something, a lot of challenge, but I would say on the diagnosis side in particular, because it's productivity and screening, and there's no billing code for that. How do you charge the hospital for that? So it's not easy. On the treatment side, it's actually more easier because they're cold and then it's significantly more expensive, and anything can help improve the outcome and safety. There could be money made truly for helping advancing. So I think there's different challenges to be solved, although in treatment it's higher stake and it's a lot more longer R&D cycle and a lot more need to be showing the evidence on clinical trial. So a lot of challenges, but I think I'm actually making an analogy to a lot of people, including my own company, in the whole AI field of healthcare. It's like we are flying airplane while building airplane at the same time. Because if you look at the 4P, what I always call the patient, physician, and provider, and policy, all of them are evolving at the same time. And so we have no idea in even next year what pieces will be in place. So it's very important not to have a fixed plan, but really stay vigilant, stay connected, and not just building our stuff inside the room, but really go out and talk to opinion leaders. Will help to really make this forward.
Thank you so much. I think all of that actually covered the three questions I wanted to ask on AI. We'll come back to investment later on. And in thinking and listening to you guys, Alan and Chenyang, I think Dr. Fan, his perspective is very, very pertinent in terms of creating from idea to actually a product under heavily regulated industry. So Dr. Fan, would you please tell us a little bit about the cell therapy that you're engaged in? What is it and how is it different from traditional conventional therapies?
Thank you. I think unlike the conventional cell therapy, like blood transfusion or bone marrow transplantation, I consider the emerging cell therapy area like CAR T or TCR-T is fundamentally gene therapy, actually. So T cells and other types of immune cells, like NK cells, gamma-directed T cells, or even macrophages, are simply its vehicle. The reason why this cell type and gene therapy got such impressive development in the past few years is largely because it's a phenomenal clinical efficacy. It sometimes generated ORR data like close to 100%. For example, in our early IIT trial, Legend-2 study we conducted in China, we achieved 100% ORR for the first 35 myeloma patients we dosed. And in our phase 2 studies in the US and Japan, we dosed more than about 97 patients in total. And the ORR we harvested was like 98%. It's very rare in clinical trials. And also the stringent CR rate can climb to 80.4%. And remember, this is a refractory and relapsed myeloma patients, last line therapies. CR is not easy. Yeah.
It's really impressive what the CAR T that you developed is really changing the paradigm for cancer treatment. And can you tell us, Dr. Fan, what are the current challenges in cell-based therapy, and especially in commercial success, and what is your company is doing that allow you to be successful?
There's lots of challenges, actually. The biggest challenge in this industry is the patient's accessibilities. Due to the nature of this personalized medicine and the complicated manufacture process, very limited supply of viral vectors, for example. And so the cost of goods are very high, and the distorted demand supply balance also makes it more difficult to reduce cost and price just by scaling up at the commercial stage. So the price, will persistent for quite a long time for this industry is concerned. Many companies in this industry are working hard to develop off-the-shelf products or allogeneic CAR T platforms in aim to manufacture CAR T product like a conventional drugs. The current mainstream allogeneic CAR T product have made a significant progress in recent years that perform very well. But all this majority of these technologies all heavily rely on gene editings, for example, technology, which is bringing risk like off targets or genotoxicities. So our Legend Biotech focused for a long time to develop non-gene editing allogeneic CAR-T technologies that we are making progress. So our unique non-gene editing CAR-T product targets CD20 already in first human study, and we recently disclosed that some of the progress in China IIT trials.
Really looking forward to the next innovative product emerging from your company, Dr. Fan. So so we're coming to the topic on VC investment. So starting with Dr. Fan, just continuing, what roles do you see VC can play other than just injecting cash into the industry? And I'm gonna ask the same question to Alan and Chen Yang as well.
Yeah, I think these years and our field is very, very hot, and more VC got familiar with the cell and gene therapy, and VCs are accumulating their interest to fund novel gene therapy companies. And deep understanding in the space by these leading VCs also facilitate the seeding of more unicorn companies with cutting edge technologies. But on the other hand, the space also getting more crowded. The additional role VC could play, we are expecting maybe to help diversify and differentiate the players in this field by encouraging real innovations by seeding new companies.
Thank you. So Alan, Chen Yang, and Mare, I like to ask the same question. What role do you see VC can play other than just giving you cash for the industry in the specific sector that you're involved in?
Yeah, through the short history of the XtoPi, we are very fortunate and really be appreciated by the venture community. There are several reasons. As Claudia mentioned, it's not only the money, but also very important one is a vision. It's a very early stage. The partner from FreeS Fund already identified and recognized this tremendous support for the company. It's a very early stage. When we're talking about, not everybody know the company and the sort of technology validated stage. And so that's what we view as a venture player role. But the other thing, particularly related to the technology-based company, is so we, on one side, as I defined the company, is a biopharmaceutical technology company. So on one side is technology, but the other is primary industry application area. The sector is life science, biopharmaceutical. And so how you balance the different angle. So from the early kind of a technology platform development stage, we had a tremendous support from technology giant, the Tencent, Google. And then with the progress, and also Vision Fund like SoftBank. But with the progress, and because the application in the biopharmaceutical area, the industry sector. And so it's more and more the industry sort of a specific venture pay more attention, because at the very beginning, it's hard for them to digest. And so that's the evolution, just like the company evolution, that related to business model, related to technology evolution. And so again, it's both bring a different resource, not only the money, the resource, but also have their vision, which integrated into the general, the board, the executive of the company, and make the company move smoothly at the moment. And so we're very fortunate. Our latest round, the Albimed is one of the leading investors. Again, they are in the area. We're talking about the industry area, but SoftBank and Google and the Sequoia is more general and vision kind of a fund.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mare. You are the investor. So what do you look for in a AI company, early stage especially? And then what do you want to bring to the adventure, to future?
So we now understand a lot in AI drug discovery, but back when we met Crystal Pi in Boston, we don't actually understand the field. So I think that we are really lucky to be able to invest in Crystal Pi, and the deal was driven a little bit by luck and a little bit by gut feeling, because at that time, every expert we consult with in Boston, they said it won't work because they have good reasons that the crystal structure prediction is a very thin layer in drug discovery and development value chain. They said the team don't have the biotech or pharmaceutical experiences, and they don't believe in computation. But for us, I think we just believe in one thing, that the computation is the right direction to go, because if you turn everything virtually in the process, that will save a lot of the cost, and it will accelerate the process. It will improve the efficiency. And we see, so we see the three founders, they all physics PhD. They are really good in force field, which we don't actually understand at that time, but we believe in that. And I think we followed our gut feeling. And after 5 years, I think they are nearly going to IPO. I think the lessons we learn from this is that first is that you have to start early when not people haven't reached consensus. That's really important. That later on we nearly met everybody who is doing CADD or AI drug discovery in China and in US. But I think Crystal Pi is the single most successful company in the field. So that's why I say we are a little bit lucky. And the second thing we think Crystal Pi is successful is because their strong execution. They bring experts like Alan Zhang on board, right? So the three physics PhD managed to convince Alan to join. And the third aspect, I think, is the really important thing, is the amazing speed. Like I think move to China is a very good. It's a vital decision they make, that they utilize the technology from US, and they also enjoy the speed in China, that and the money in China help them grow. So that's, if you look back, what I learned from the deal is that the start early, strong execution, and amazing speed. So as a VC, I think what we should do to after we invest in a company, that if they are down, because startup is a really long journey. It's a very long and lonely journey, that if they are down, you should be there to accompany them, and you chat with them, you listen to them, just be there. I think it's very important. If they are up and growing really fast, I think for us, it's very important to figure out what's going on and learn from them, because a lot of the fields we invest in are new markets or emerging sectors. Nobody can say with assurance what's going on. So you have to learn really fast and with the company, and help them navigate through risks, and let it go, and let them innovate and take risks. I think that's what VC should do, besides injecting cash into the company.
Thank you. Well, I'm going to jump to the next question due to time limit. What are the differences, strengths and weaknesses between China and US in your field? I'll start with Dr. Fan.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. I think in this field, at research level, both US and China are leading the world in the specific cell and gene therapy area. And in a field space, such as solid tumor treatment, which emerging breakthrough are expected in 5 years, I believe. Some Chinese biotech even are taking the leads already. So I foresee that many breakthroughs in solid cancer will eventually come from China. Despite the current US-China competition, and the conflict in terms of politics and economics, we do see that the collaboration, IP licensing and out in this area of the pharmaceutical industry are not being really affected. Rather, these are enhanced years by years, given the mutual challenges in healthcare shared by the two great nations. So I don't worry too much about the potential impact on our industry by this political conflicts. As long as Chinese scientists keep embracing true innovation and working hard, as always, there will be more high-value technologies being developed to attract the attention of global pharma. So co-development and collaboration in cell therapy area will be more heated in the next 10 years. And this will bring lots of hope to desperate patients and their families worldwide.
Very good. And Chen Yang, the AI, especially for medical imaging, China and US.
Yeah, I think just two, I mean, this is a complex topic. We can spend a lot of time, but really just 2 quick points. One is on the talent. I've been in US for long and also have, managed center in China before for Siemens and now a company here. I think in some application area, there are a lot more talents in China now. So I do think China will see a boom in the next 10 years. But I think in some bleeding edge area, like for example, in our current treatment technology, using imaging to guide complex surgery for cancer treatment, it's really, really hard to find the, qualified researchers in China, I have to say. So this is a challenge. We have to, the education takes time. So we have to find ways to solve it by partnering with top universities, US and Europe. The second part is really about the collaboration on healthcare, let's use the cancer treatment diagnosis example between the two countries or even the other countries. COVID taught us, disease no borders of countries. But unfortunately, with the political and economic, battles or wars, however hypes you want to use, and there are real boundaries there. But also there's other reasons for boundary, like patient safety and privacy. And so therefore, I think we need creativity at all levels. The 4P, right, to really solve the collaboration. I would say, a year and a half ago, I attended the FDA and Stanford event on cancer treatment. At the time, the chairman of radiology department at Stanford, Dr. Gambier, he passed away with invasive brain tumor cancer months after with huge loss. But he actually was asking the entire US healthcare on cancer treatment, including pharmaceutical company, to wake up. Because he said, in China, in Tiantan Yuan alone, the brain scan, MR scan, 1 month, the scan is equivalent to the entire year of the MR scan of the entire West Coast of US. And so US has because AI era is a data era. And if US and China can collaborate, and Europe, and really help to advance the humankind forward, and that's really the key. And back to the cancer, right? I mentioned, our goal is 1 million in the next big milestone. But in China alone, in the next 20 years, we lost 80 million people, right? And because 20 years, 4 million, so 80 million. But worldwide, a year is 10 million people lost, right? That's double than the entire COVID lost up to now. So think about this. It's not just a number. These people are father and children, daughter and mother and grandmother, teachers, policemen, politicians, technologists, medical doctors, lawyers, right? List goes on. And the huge loss. So the world has to figure out a way to, to really advance this, and I think it's not only AI, it's really on the policy level as well. But all levels have to work together.
Thank you. That was very insightful. So I'm going to move to taking audience questions. Some of them are very good. So I'll do my best to direct to the right person. So question one, how do we break the walls and policy restrictions, get the data from the hospitals to analyze, so more patient data are available and then more treatment can be tailored with that data in a more effective and secure way. So I know, Dr. Fan, your company are doing a lot of clinical trials. So maybe you can speak from your experience, and whoever wants to jump in, including Chen Yang, just talked about hospital patients, please.
Yeah, it's very, it's key, is emerging challenge to especially for big companies to develop lots of pipeline. We have conducted lots of clinical trials in China as well, and the data and different nations have different policies, different legal system. It definitely bring us a lot of challenges. But we're working hard to work with the Chinese regulatory agencies like HGRAG, the genetic material, all this data. I think that the policy will settle down very soon. The interpretation will be will bring more transparencies. Then will guide the company to manage the data properly. I think things are getting much better than last year. So year by year, I do see improvement. I do see that there's a more and more reasonable approach and guidelines to make. After all, the data has to be shared. Is the healthcare data, because in the mutual aim of improving the human health, which is, like I mentioned already, is a shared mission by every countries. So I don't worry about that. We just need to, but we do need to pay enough attention. You can't ignore all this changing world and changing regulatory, and we should try to understand the government, the motivation of the government is not to block innovations, not to block the research, but to bring the data securities, which has its foundations. Yeah. So we all we can do is we try to learn more and also interact with the government agencies more closely, try to understand each other. I think that with more communications and collaborations, and everything will be solved eventually. Thank you.
Great, thank you for your optimism. Chen Yang, in 2 minutes or less on this topic.
Yeah, actually, I think Frank did a good job commenting that. I said what I need to say earlier. I want to give my time to Ray because he has invested in a lot of healthcare companies. There could be really insightful comments he can provide on this topic or other topics. So.
Excellent. And then Ray, there's another question just for you. A lot of hot money rushing into the healthcare industry. What's the best advice you have for entrepreneurs to get that money? So in addition to answering the last question, please, Ray.
I think it's good to have a lot of money flowing in. So my advice for the entrepreneur is that you just get the money you need and you find the right investor that I understand it's difficult to differentiate different investors. Some have a biotech background and some have a TMT background, and now they merge. Now the concept of IT plus BT, IT plus biotech. So there are some ones in between. So I think Freas is a VC that at the cross section of biotech and IT that we understand computation, material, and the biology are very important, that you have to be in a cross field of all those to be able to smartly invest the money into the right entrepreneurs. So for entrepreneurs, maybe you have to get to know a little bit about the investment ecosystem.
Yes, thank you. I'm an entrepreneur. Those of you who don't know me, so I definitely, am still learning how to choose the right investor. So I might give you a call right after this.
Sure. Thank you.
So this I didn't know. Google is planning on shutting down its healthcare division. Do you think there's going to be a reset in AI in healthcare industry? Who can take that? Alan? Anyone?
Yeah,
Maybe I take a quick step. Alan, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, this is a real, but also a year earlier, IBM wasn't also virtually basically shut down. Is that probably raised a very similar question. Do you think there's going to be a big reset on the AI in healthcare the industry? So it's broad. If you look at the original intention of so-called healthcare, is more related to at least it's not the extra pie covered the sector. So basically, it's the drug research and development. It's not. It's more real healthcare related to patient, very patient-centric. And so that's one of the question. Oh, this question may be already answered by Chen Yang. The thing is related to the healthcare is related to regulatory compliance, but most important, you have to dealing with the gap between perceptive versus the reality. And so in the end, it's clinically, you see the benefit, and you sort of have an evidence to support that it really works. And so that's why. I think both the exercise from IBM and Watson in the healthcare application, and in certain degree, the Google Health probably cannot reach that level. Maybe at the very beginning, they set the wrong path. The IBM Watson is heavily is a natural language processing behind all the activities. But again, it's in certain degree like a new drug development. It's not only the molecular modality is novel, the clinical development strategy also right. And then you get a real benefit. You may identify precisionally this population can benefit from this particular molecular modality. So that's my understanding. Pretty shallow. I think Chen Yang probably have a more insights on this.
Yeah, it takes more than just the vision and the money, right? Okay,
Yeah.
Chen Yang,
I mean, this one I happen to do have a little bit more insight. So I wouldn't call that a big reset. I call that a big reshuffle, right? Because with so much money coming into AI for players who are in the main medical and biomedical field, and those who are not in the biomedical field want to come in. So after 5 years, it's time to have a reshuffle. And the carrot is not only startups, but also big companies. In fact, big companies are very vulnerable. I have a lot of Siemens colleagues and friends in Google, IBM, and I would even include Microsoft. It's not being successful with this round. And so, so the thing is, I teach at the Tsinghua School of Management, EMBA, Open Innovation, and also Zhangjiang and some other business school. Basically, culture eats strategy for breakfast. We see that a lot in Silicon Valley. And part of the problem is the mindset of the management. What makes the company widely successful is actually the biggest enemy of the company going to a new field. So therefore, Google is not the first time. More than 15 years ago, a number of my colleagues lost to Google because they started the healthcare. And last round, after billions of dollar investment, it failed. It shut down. This round, they thought AI would be the panacea and then coming would do it. And then it failed again. But it's a culture clash at the top of leadership. And they fail to understand the challenge of the healthcare, particularly additional regulatory risk that whatever Google has done so far has not faced so far. And that respect of these healthcare professionals is missing. And same thing with Microsoft, to a lesser degree. And this is their second round. First round shut down, also billions of dollars, and we'll see how this is going. IBM actually are more bullish. They might turn around, and after the fiasco they had with MD Anderson and with their Watson. So overall, I think really need to, when we come to the healthcare, particularly medical, biomedical field, we really need to stay foolish and stay hungry, as Steve Jobs said, and respect the field and really do it the right way. So.
Great way to wrap up our session. We've come to the end of the healthcare panel. Thank you so much, all panelists and all participants. Lots of exciting, innovative ideas, but really, how do you make this useful for mankind? Commercialization remains to be a big challenge. I look forward to following all of you for your great success to come. Thank you, and I'll end the session now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
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 Bye-bye.